Hey kids, what did you want to be when you grew up? Right. Mm-hmm. That's a good one. Okay. Right. So most of you just probably said things like, I wanted to be a doctor. I wanted to be a firefighter. I wanted to be a soldier. Or I wanted to be a superhero. I wanted to be Wolverine. I wanted to be a dancer at a taxidermy themed fetish club. Yeah. Yeah, we heard you, Susie. We all heard you. What you probably didn't say was, I want to be a patient in a series of invasive and increasingly painful spinal surgeries. Yeah, yeah, that was my childhood. Now, I should clarify that I was 13 for my first surgery, so technically not childhood, but I'm counting it. And yes, technically, if you wanted to be adamantium enhanced Logan, you did sign up for all the horrors and surgeries of Weapon X. But pedantic reasoning aside, let's get into it. I was diagnosed at 12 years old with acute idiopathic scoliosis. This is a condition that can be diagnosed at any age. However, with cases as severe as mine was, it's usually caught anywhere from toddler to 5 years old. Mine, according to school nurses, managed to spring up overnight. Yeah. So, what is scoliosis? Well, according to the National Scoliosis Association, circa June 2007, scoliosis is an abnormal lateral curvature of the spine. It is most often diagnosed in childhood or early adolescence. The spine's normal curves occur at the cervical, thoracic, and lumbar regions in the so-called sagittal plane. These natural curves position the head over the pelvis and work as shock absorbers to distribute mechanical stress during movement. Scoliosis is often defined as spinal curvature in the coronal or frontal plane. While the degree of curvature is measured on the coronal plane, scoliosis is actually a more complex, three-dimensional problem which blah blah blah. My spine was an S. Don't believe me? Here's the x-rays. And that's the view from the front. Those numbers do say 59 and 47, which means the top half of my spine was pressing into my left lung, to the point where it lost a quarter of the capacity, permanently. So, that gives you an idea of what we're working with, doesn't it? Which leads us to the commonly asked questions section of this episode. The first question is,
what impact can it have?
Which is kind of a much bigger question than it seems, honestly. Even a mild curve requires exercises to resolve or tame, treat, however you want to put it. Which, it's not bad. It's stretching exercises, you know, a little bit of yoga, a little bit of Tai Chi, some physical therapy exercises, you know, it's fine. But then you get into a moderate curve on their mild, moderate, severe scale. Moderate curves require exercises and or braces. Braces are not fun. I never had to wear one. I didn't even get the exercises, honestly. I jumped straight to level 3, but we'll get into that in a second. Braces, I want to say they're not that bad, but because I never had to wear one, honestly, I can't say. However, they're not terrible. You can accessorize them, you can wear them under your clothes, you can, you know, customize them. I knew someone in high school that wore one, had it completely camoed out, put her little band logos, tattoos, and sayings on there, whatever she wanted. That being said, yeah, there's also more severe braces. I mean, I'm pretty sure we've all seen at least one movie where somebody has the brace from shoulder to torso, or waistline, rather, has the support on the back of the neck. Yeah, that isn't necessarily a scoliosis brace, but it is in the future. Like, you can need a brace that severe if you have something, if you have a curve that's more severe. Then you get into level 3, which is severe, which is what I had. That's where you're talking surgery and such. Braces won't do anything. Exercises are not going to do anything except strain your muscles. They're not going to help the curve. They're not going to make it any less severe. So we have to go to surgery. The lucky ones can get not microscopic, but smaller amounts of surgery. You know, the scars aren't as bad. They only go into one section and clean it up. I had a full spine surgery, so from the bottom of my neck down to, honestly, the crack of my ass. That is all scar. And this is when you have to start prioritizing and reshuffling things in life. Am I saying no more running, jumping, climbing trees? Not necessarily. It's a possibility, but at the very least, you're not going to be doing it as much or as hard as you used to. I was also told that I would never play professional sports. No hockey, no football, no soccer, no wrestling, nothing. No high impacts. Limited bending, limited twisting. I had a weight limit of 5 to 10 pounds during recovery. And recently, when I went to go consult with the surgeon to see about surgery number 5, she mentioned she would want to put me on a 25-pound weight limit, possibly permanently. I'm 32. I'll be 33 in May. That's a long time, you know, to only have 25 pounds. That's the rest of my life. So now I gotta wonder, what kind of jobs can I do that I'm not going to hate, that don't require me to lift more than 25 pounds. This is desk jobs. This is light, custodial duty. This is patrols, things like that. I could be a telemarketer maybe. But the things that I love to do, food service, cooking, and, working with my hands. And I wanted to do trade school for a while, welding and carpentry and all that. No, that's out. Because I got to lift 50 pounds or more on those jobs. I got to bend, I got to twist, duck. You have to stretch and reach, do all that. Can't do it. I was actually told that I was a kitchen manager at a homeless shelter most recently, and my job, ideally, would have been mostly desk work. It would have been mostly admin. But because I still had to clean the kitchen, keep it up in order, do inventory and take donations that could reach anywhere from, maybe 2 ounces to, well over 100 pounds. Maybe sometimes 250 if we got a really big shipment. Obviously, I'm not lifting 250 pounds, but repetitive, back and forth, back and forth. Because of that, she told me that I shouldn't have told her what I was doing as a job, because she would have to professionally recommend me to leave my job, which obviously I ended up doing anyways, but that tells you a lot right there. The fact that a surgeon will tell you that you should leave your job because it's going to just make your condition worse. Granted, again, this is after 4 spinal surgeries. My spine is not what it used to be. It's not what you would call sturdy, shall we say. But even after one surgery, you're being limited and you're going to have to work around that. But it also impacts other areas. It impacts your stamina, your mentality. It can lead to PTSD, depression, things like that. Yes, it even impacts your sex life. So we're talking life changes here, not just one or two. It reprioritizes everything. So, yeah, that's a big impact, I would say. And again, if you're lucky, you only go in for one, and it's one and done. You get your orders, you recover, you live a mostly normal life. Then you get people like me, 1, 2, 3, 4, and I've been told it's just going to be a repeating thing throughout my life. It's just one after another, after another, after another, constantly correcting, taking out hardware, putting in hardware, fixing the spine, fixing the muscles. It's terrifying. I don't know how else to put it. That is a depressing and shitty reality to have to come to terms with. I still don't know how I'm going to do it. This is part of it, but this is also... I've been thinking of doing this for years. I wanted to prepare people. I wanted to, give somebody a hand to just say, hey, you're not alone. There are others who have been through this. We can get through this. Here's some advice. Here's what to expect. And maybe I do that. Maybe I don't. Maybe I manage to give somebody some hope. Make it a little less scary. Take some of the mystery and mystique out of the future. But really all I can do is just talk and tell you about my experience and hope that it helps. So that leads us to question number 3, which is the dumbest question we're going to hear about in this episode, honestly.
Did it hurt?
No, it was a tickle. Did it hurt? Is probably the first and most common question you're ever going to hear. And the answer is complicated, like everything else dealing with this. In conditions that induce chronic pain, be it scoliosis, fibromyalgia, rheumatoid arthritis, anything like that. Yeah, as I just said, chronic pain. You're going to be in pain. It's going to hurt. However, dealing with it, the people I've spoken to, my partner has fibromyalgia, my mother has rheumatoid arthritis, we all agree that we don't know what baseline normal is. And our pain doesn't feel like what people expect it to feel like. Some people I've spoken to have expected shooting pains, sharp pains, feeling like you've been punched or that things are out of place. Doesn't feel like that. In my case, and sometimes in cases like theirs, it feels more like you're just constantly dealing with a dull ache. Like there's muscle cramps, and some days something's extended too far, or some days I wake up and it feels like I weigh 2 tons and I don't want to move. If there's ever a sharp pain, that means I've done something very wrong and I need to sit down and check and make sure it goes away. If it persists, that means that I need to go get that checked out. And that was before the surgeries. After the surgeries, there's now nerve damage in a lot of places. So, for example, I can't feel the surface of my left shoulder blade, and I can't feel the surface of my lower right hip. We'll get into those later, but you have to deal with those. And yeah, that's the answer is yeah, it hurts. Yes, it's going to hurt, but it may not hurt in the way you expect. But now that we've gotten through all that, does it hurt? What impacts all of this? All of this leads to you playing a game that nobody should ever find themselves playing. And it's a little game that I like to call
The game of why can't I?
Okay, first things first, before we go any farther, you might have noticed the shirt keeps coming on and off, the hat keeps coming on and off. Well, that's because although I intended to shoot this video all in one day, like most things, it took a few weeks. It's, I think, been a month and 2 weeks since I've started this video and editing it. And in that time, I've changed a bit. And I didn't want it to just suddenly appear halfway through the video, so I've been trying to make my appearance look as consistent as possible. I've constantly worn the black shirt and the flannel and the hat, but this is here now, so first we're just going to deal with that. Now, as far as the game goes, this game of why can't I? This is where you start looking around, and now that you know that things are different, maybe even beforehand, you might have started playing it already. You ask yourself, why can't I run as fast as that kid? Why can't I climb like they can? Why can't I do the push-ups or the pull-ups? Why can't I be normal? Why can't I be like them? That is going to screw with your head, all right? It's not a good game to play. I encourage you to stop playing this game as soon as possible. And I'll go into some methods of doing that later. I haven't perfected them. I still play that game a lot. So if the methods don't work perfectly, if they help but they're not 100%, that's normal. Don't worry about that. You can find other things. It's all a matter of personal taste. But this game, yeah, that's basically it. You're going to start comparing yourself to others. It's going to be, why can't I do that? Why can't I do this? Am I not, good enough? Aren't I like them? And no, you're not. But that's not a bad thing. That's just a fact of life. And now's the time where we find our niche. What makes us us? What makes us able to stand up with pride and say, yeah, I'm not like you, but that doesn't mean that I'm worth any less. And I think this is where we're going to end episode 1. So I will see you back with episode 2. Have a good one, guys.